Hello and welcome. My name is Neil Sharkey and I'm a curator at the Shrine of Remembrance. Thank you for joining me on this tour of our special exhibition, Dean Bowen's Imagining Centaur. On the 20th of December 2009, oceanographers on board the survey vessel Seahorse Spirit, 48 kilometres southeast of Queensland's Moreton Island, gathered around a video monitor. They saw something unseen by any human for over 66 years. "2,059 metres below, a robot submersible, Remora 3, was sending back the first images of the mangled wreckage of the second third Australian hospital ship Centaur, sunk by the Japanese submarine I-177 in the small hours of 14 May 1943. The haunting footage, seized upon by news services across Australia, captured the imagination of celebrated Australian artist Dean Bowen, and he embarked on a series of interpretive charcoal drawings of the sinking. He has continued to pursue this subject, on and off, ever since. Bowen's charcoal drawings are the centrepiece of a new Shrine of Remembrance exhibition entitled Imagining Centaur. Quirky, vibrant, whimsical compositions depicting people, animals, everyday places and objects are hallmarks of Bowen's award-winning, internationally recognised work. The Centaur series of charcoal drawings explores territory much darker than is typically Bowen's one. 7 drawings from the series form the centrepiece of the exhibition. Bowen's childlike vision of this bewildering tragedy amplifies the horror of the events of 14 May 1943. The beautiful, unsettling work underscores the horror of the violation, considered by many experts to be among the greatest war crimes ever committed against Australians. The Centaur drawings come fully formed from Bowen's imagination, but, in contrast to much of Bowen's work, depict events that, as Remora 3's haunting footage attest, are grounded in stark reality. For that reason, it was decided early on in the development of the exhibition to include historic records and personal stories of the people who were caught up in the actual events of 14 May 1943, events that whirl and pulsate in Bowen's extraordinary and boundless imagination. Centaur remained a household name in this country for many decades after the Second World War, but memory of the disaster had undoubtedly faded from the minds of the majority of Australians prior to the wreck's discovery. It was this dimming memory of Centaur and those aboard her that Bowen sought to revitalise. Charcoal drawings not included in the exhibition wall hang have been utilised in a specially commissioned animation by Japanese audiovisual artist Ayumi Sasaki. The beautiful animation features a soundscape by musician Guy Webster. And excerpts of the epic poem Hospital Ship Centaur by the late Paul Sherman.
6 scarlet crosses, buckled from bow to stern.
Archival footage of an interview conducted with the most famous of Centaur survivors, Sister Ellen Savage, and underwater footage of Centaur's wreck is also included.
Sister, you were out of midships when the torpedo hit, weren't you?
Our cabins were, yes. We were sleeping in bed and the explosion wakened us up and we raced to our window.
The presentation of the gallery space is itself a critical component of the exhibition. The gallery walls are painted in the unambiguous hospital ship paint scheme that Centaur bore when the torpedo struck. Immersive light projections evoke the ocean water swirling over and through the wreck of the Centaur. The charcoal drawings are not framed, but floated off the walls as if suspended wraith-like in space. These elements attempt to provide a heightened emotional experience for visitors. What then is the story of the second third Australian hospital ship Centaur? The vessel was 80 kilometres northeast of Brisbane, south of Moreton Bay, and heading north when it was struck portside by a torpedo fired without warning at or soon after 4 a.m. on 14 May 1943. Most of the people aboard Centaur were asleep below deck and had little or no chance of survival. Within 3 minutes, Centaur and hundreds of people still enclosed within had sunk, bow first, beneath the waves. Those who did succeed jumped into the water. There was no time to lower lifeboats, though 2 boats and a number of rafts did miraculously break clear. Among the victims who did succeed in reaching rafts were several who died all the same, from shrapnel wounds, burns and shock. Of course, many would never reach a raft. They simply drowned or died of exposure. 35 hours passed before the survivors were rescued by the crew of the American destroyer USS Mugford. In the intervening period, the survivors would repeatedly have their hopes raised and dashed as 4 ships and as many aircraft passed by without spotting them. Survivors watched in horror as sharks circled the life rafts. Centaur's complement immediately prior to the attack was a medical staff of 52 men, including 8 doctors, 12 army nurses, and a civilian crew of 75 merchant seamen. Aboard too, 193 members of the 2nd 12th Field Ambulance en route to Port Moresby. Of these 332 souls, only 64 would survive. The exhibition features memorabilia on loan from the Australian War Memorial, the Centaur Fund, the AHS Centaur Association, and the families of victims of the tragedy. In this task, the shrine has been assisted by historian, Centaur expert, and exhibition co-curator, Dr. Madonna Grian. These items remind visitors that Bowen's unique vision of the Centaur tragedy is drawn from a desire to enjoin the threads of his imagination and art with the fabric of reality. In addition to relics of those terrible events, are objects that show how individuals and organisations have tried to keep Centaur's memory front of mind, just as Bowen himself has done. This maquette, beautifully backlit, is the model for a full-scale memorial window which adorns the Concord Repatriation Hospital in Sydney, New South Wales. The insignias of the Centaur, the Merchant Navy, the AIF, the Australian and British flags, depictions of the Centaur afloat and sinking, and the flower emblems of each Australian state and territory acknowledge a truly national tragedy, the repercussions of which are still felt with us to this day. Dean Bowen's Imagining Centaur will be on display at the Shrine of Remembrance until April 2022. Check our website for details. In the meantime, thank you for joining us, and I hope that we see you at the exhibition very soon.